Hello and welcome everyone to Self Care in the City, the podcast where we explore inspiring conversations, practical ideas, and the people helping us live healthier, happier, and more intentional lives. I'm your host, Chantel Swaby, the founder of the ThriveWell Hub. And today's conversation is one I think will resonate with so many people because we're talking about something we've probably all experienced at one time or another. Today's conversation is the feeling that life is happening to you rather than because of you. Maybe you're constantly reacting, maybe you're stuck in the same patterns, maybe you feel something needs to change, which is a big one, but you're not quite sure where to start. And my guest, I'm so excited, is Suzanne Kubik, founder of Motoristas UK and the creator of the Self Leadership Effect. So, from what I understand, after a successful corporate career, Suzanne now helps people move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat, if you will, of their lives through her flip the script approach, which we're going to get into, and I'm really excited about that. One of the reasons I was so excited to invite Suzanne onto the podcast is because one of the attendees at Unmasked really had their own experience at one of her sessions, and it had such an impact that he's continued working with her ever since. And that immediately made me curious. What is self-leadership and why does it seem to have such a meaningful change? So let's find out, everyone. And Suzanne, welcome to Self-Care in the City.
Thank you very much, Chantel, for having me. I'm very excited about talking about all things self-leadership, flipping the script, why we're having a script, and the effects when we flip the thing.
No, this is going to be great. I'm so looking forward to this. So, but you know what? I always start with finding out about who you are, because obviously you're new to, not probably new to what you do, but maybe our listeners, you might be new to some people. And so it's really, for me, let's start with finding out if someone were to meet you for the first time and they said, so what do you actually do? What would be your answer?
Actually, I find that question almost a little bit, I always stutter a bit because I don't know where to start, because there's so much about me where I don't know where to start, and I don't want to start with childhood and then tell the entire story. But I'm German born. I lived in America for a few years, and I moved to London in 2003. And I've been then stuck. When I say stuck, not necessarily stuck, but I've worked in the corporate environment, particularly in investment banking, for many years. In total, 30 years.
Wow.
And so my story was that I always felt behind in life. I felt I didn't have achieved enough. I didn't feel I felt like an incomplete. There was something not finished, like an incomplete project that needed fixing. And I joined a coaching program that was recommended to me that was different to anything that I ever experienced.
Yep.
And that was back in 2014. And that was literally flipping the script. It was literally the entire story that I kept telling myself about who I am and what was about me. We turned that completely on its head, literally 180 degrees. And I remember coming home after 5 days, immersing myself in this coaching program, putting both hands right and left on the sink in my bathroom, leaning forwards and saying, hello, there you are. It's about time.
How beautiful.
I know. And this feeling of finally meeting myself, not just looking at myself in terms of critical and as in failure, as in I need to do more and achieve more, I need to be seen as successful in the eyes of others, but finally feeling this sort of acceptance and liking myself. And that feeling has grown stronger over the years. Now, sorry, you asked me what I do and who I am and why. Yeah. So that's the background story, is my own story, that eventually, being in the corporate world, realizing my corporate fellow colleagues were following a typical script
Yeah.
And everybody felt muted and fitting in and blending in just like I had. And I thought, I need to change this. So having planned, and this is about being intentional in your life, having planned sort of my next chapters, it was always in the back of my head that one day I will pass this on. I want to make this, what I experienced, available to other people. It
Okay.
took me a couple of years because there were other things and sort of life happened. But in 2023,
Yeah.
2023, I left the corporate world to set up my coaching business. And that's how I shaped my coaching approach and packaging sort of the name, so to make it available to other people.
And I
This
love that
takes,
you, yeah, I love that you have this lived experience of the corporate world, and you know how it feels, you know what the grind is, you know what that burnout is. So people that are experiencing that, you get it, you know. But kind of going back to where you were, I guess, what do you wish that someone had told you back then, so that you wouldn't have had to go through this, or knowing yourself, or anything really that would have helped you at the time?
I think the biggest aha moment through this was that I'm okay the way I am, that
Uh,
I am a unique being,
yeah.
that I don't need to blend in to fit in,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
I can own my own voice, um, that I can just be proud of who I am and even proud of my past.
Yeah.
Not just looking at the future and striving forward, but actually acknowledging sort of the back end, what already happened, and acknowledging that as in, oh, I've done this, I've done that. I've also, I've moved countries, I've been to places. So that my story doesn't need to be sounding like someone else's story, but my story can uniquely sound like mine, and that's okay, that's acceptable.
And also, I imagine a lot of people listening will recognize parts of that story in their own life, which I think is actually also beautiful. I think that people can see what you've gone through, and really recognize. And I think that's a beautiful part of what you do and who you are, and how you can help people, really. And actually, moving on to that whole, I'm really curious about the passenger's seat versus driver's seat kind of area that you work in, because I think, and actually I do want to, I do want to big up that whole motorista side that you have. If you could just like give a little glimpse of why that started, because I know a little bit about it, but I don't know everything, and that kind of feels really relevant for, moving from that passenger seat to the driver's seat of your life.
Yeah, I think there's so many. This is like a Rubik's cube that comes together at the moment. I've always loved driving. I grew up in the German autobahn. I've always done road trips. I'm fortunate that I can drive a fantastic car. And every time me and my partner went driving somewhere, I was driving a car and he was driving a car, and we sort of drove in convoy through the countryside.
Yeah.
And wherever I went, car events, etc. And I met some fantastic women who would own really fabulous big cars.
Right.
They would happily hand over the key to their boyfriends, partners, and husbands, and would sit in the passenger seat.
Oh.
And so I've noticed that over the years quite a lot. And I thought, I need to change this. So why are women not actually sitting in the driver's seat and driving their own fabulous cars?
Yes.
So, and that's how there was a cosmic fax. I call it cosmic fax. One day, the universe was talking to me and said motoristas, and I thought, that's it. I just start motoristas and encourage more women to come together driving. We'll have a joy for driving, and I get it that women are not like men. Men have their car events. They stand around, they open up the bonnet and talk about the engine and but sorry, but for me it's about the joy of driving. And so far, I'm growing organically, but I'm meeting more and more women who are encouraged to feel this sort of pull of doing something different and actually taking ownership. There is something about women driving their, I'd call it fat, fast cars,
Yeah.
it's also being part of a different kind of movement. I think that women are being seen as part of motoristas, of taking agency, taking ownership, sitting in the driver's seat, has nothing to do with being rah and very aggressive, but it's this showing up for yourself. And whether
Yes.
it's the car as a synonym at the moment,
Okay.
whatever it is, that is sort of that pull and that sort of your interest, do that and don't wait for permission.
And how long has the Motoristas been going on for?
Motoristas was founded also in 2023 at the same time as my coaching practice.
Growing each year with women joining and wanting to be part of this movement, because I think that'd be amazing.
Slowly. The point was that I hit menopause. The menopause, not being able to remember anything, physically feeling like a vegetable, mentally and physically feeling like a vegetable. I kind of stopped both. And definitely motoristas, because I couldn't even hold the steering wheel. On the cars I'm driving, they don't even have power steering. So it needs full attention.
Wow.
And a little bit of muscle power in your arms.
Upper arms.
And so I kind of stopped, and I kind of lost sort of my focus on motoristas. And then it was this year, actually, at the beginning of this year, when I had a casual conversation with someone, and I spoke about motoristas, and this lady said, "Oh my God, I'm racing vintage cars with my partner somewhere in Hertfordshire." And so we had this conversation about driving and cars and racing, and then all of a sudden I had a phone call out of the blue from Richard Hammond's TV production company.
Wow.
I know. And they were asking whether my members had any need or interest of having their classic cars refurbished in his TV show, in his workshop.
Oh my God.
I thought to myself, oh, I better go and get some members then. And the lady I spoke to, who's racing vintage cars, she, before we met online, she Googled or ChatGPT'd me, or motoristas.
Yeah.
And she said, you're coming up as, there's only 4 female car clubs in the UK, and you're coming up as the second one. And I know who's the first one, but I came up as the second one, and I thought, and I haven't even done anything really yet. We have a few members, but we haven't done many road trips or, in the countryside. I haven't planned anything. So I thought, And then there was someone else I spoke to said, oh my God, you've got to give that another go. And so, I basically went back to my WhatsApp group and said, ladies, I think we're reviving motoristas, who's in? And then I'm just going to male dominated areas and basically have these chats with men. And then I'm asking, do you have a wife who's driving? And do you have a wife who's driving? And on 2 occasions, it was yes. And as a matter of fact, I have a wife who loves driving, and they joined with their classic cars, and we had a fantastic day out. So there's lots of plans in the pipeline for next year. And
I love this. I love the fact that you are giving this kind of ownership back to women to say, hey, I can feel as empowered as my husband does behind a beautiful car. Like, just being able to, and have that space, just having that space. It's quite interesting, because it's almost like when you talk about wellness, mental health these days, and a lot of women occupy that space. Men, they don't really have that space enough. And yet this opposite is the same for cars, right? So it's quite interesting delving into that world for you. So any listeners out there, if you are a driver, a female driver of a classic car, and want to hear more, learn more, this lady, Suzanne Goodnick, get in contact. Excellent. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, even if someone hasn't got a car yet, but I've thought, oh my God, why not? I love driving. I love classic cars. Why am I not part of this community of women coming together and doing something extraordinary? And the conversations that happen out of those gatherings, they're always inspiring. They're always leading to something else.
I love this. I love this for women. I love this for almost like a mental health thing for women, because it gives them something beautiful to help them feel more of them, like themselves and who they are. And my other question, though, is can you drive on both sides of the road?
I do. I've learned it now.
That's always a question I've got to ask. So no, getting back seriously to everything we want to talk about here. When you talk then about the passenger seat versus the driver's seat,
yes,
what does it actually mean in terms of what you do in terms of your coaching?
Yes. So in simple terms, we have learned everything that we think is true about ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the script.
Okay.
It's hardly ever supportive, empowering. Hell yeah. It's usually I'm not. It's always a little bit limiting.
Yeah.
It's never been, most of us, I'd say 95% probably of our population has not grown up with being infused with confidence, being infused with, I am my authentic self.
Yeah.
We have learned through observation in our families and through our upbringing. And I don't say that by blaming mum and dad, because they didn't know either. We are the first generation who has a level of awareness where we make well-being, well-thinking the norm.
Yeah,
that hasn't happened in previous generations. So and then our upbringing happens, and then our education system happens. And then we're being molded again into how we have to behave, how we have to speak, how we have to fit in, how we have to blend in. Our ownership of ourselves has been stripped away from us without us even knowing.
Right.
So, and then what happens to a lot of people, they enter after university, they enter the corporate world. And then again, we are being molded again in the corporate world, behavior, the language that we're using, and we adapt to that like a chameleon. And we're wearing this mask of perfection and performance and progress and pressure, and we're dealing with that. And without even knowing, because we're never stopping to think about that, it's kind of normal. Everybody else does it.
Yep.
And so we're on this treadmill, on this autopilot of doing life, just juggling it instead of actually, or nobody ever has given us the permission to stop for a second and go like, is what I'm doing and the life I'm creating actually me? And it's not about throwing your life away and changing everything, but it is our own negative voice that keeps us suppressed. I feel, and I had this conversation during a networking event. I said, my aim is, I see people, corporate world, and I was in there myself. I felt like someone in a restraining jacket, like I felt tamed and suppressed. And eventually went through this coaching, and I've been practicing just being me, letting go more and more of this heavy want that dragged me down.
Yes.
And so my posture changed, my body language changed, because I changed the way I flipped that script of who I thought I was and I thought I needed to be to, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm actually quite okay. I'm unique. I'm special. There's something different about me, not in the sense of, oh, I'm so different, but everybody has a uniqueness about them, an inner glow that's been suppressed by conformity, being on autopilot, never stopping to really think about themselves.
And it's so, so true. People just go through life. They're kind of like head above water, a lot of people, just trying to make, just paddling along, just kind of like, okay, I gotta make it. And they don't stop to think life shouldn't be like this. Life shouldn't feel like there's no direction, like there's no legacy that you might be leaving, like you have a purpose, right? I love that flipping the script gives people that permission, as you said before, to really take a strong look at their lives. So when, I guess, someone moves into the driver's seat, what changes first? What things do they start to see or happen?
I think my aim is to make sure that people finally see themselves, not just look at themselves in terms of need to perform, need to achieve, need to strive, and see themselves not as there's something wrong with them, but actually see themselves as everything's right with me. And this heaviness drops off the shoulders. And flipping that script is not about changing something on the outside. That's the thing. We think we need to then walk away from the job. We think we need to leave the relationship. But actually, when we see ourselves differently, notice ourselves and be able to pay attention to our thoughts, observe them as in a helicopter, literally observing our thoughts, we can also change how we think, and when we change how we think, we change how we feel. And that is flipping the script, and that takes us into the driver's seat, as in not being just reactive all the time and being snappy and feeling stressed, but actually being able to choose not to feel stressed, not to feel and giving yourself away, not to give in to a conversation that clearly isn't feeling good, and really being intentional with ourselves. How do I want to feel? And how do I want my life to look like? Not as in creating a success to feel or look successful to the outside, but how do I want to feel in my life? What kind of life do I want to create? And within the life I already have.
And I think one of the key words that you use there for me is intentional. And people a lot of times don't have that intentionality in their lives about how they lead their lives. They just kind of go about, like, this is what I was saying, they just kind of go about life, and they let life happen to them without thinking that they have some means to actually choose how things should be to be
absolutely. And I remember a conversation with my mentor, Richard Wilkins. He was telling about a conversation he had. But someone says, "Oh, you've been keeping busy," and he actually replied saying, "No, I haven't. I don't want to be busy anymore." And when I heard that, being still in the corporate world, I thought, well, you can choose not to be busy.
Isn't it crazy? Like, that thought, what?
It's like, it stopped me. Like, what? He's choosing not to be busy anymore. And busy became for me almost a way of life, because being busy became my importance.
Interesting. That is interesting. I think a lot of people feel that way, that you're not somebody, you're not doing enough if you aren't busy. And that's something that we've probably learned from childhood, unfortunately.
Education system, corporate world. It's constantly being seen as being busy all the time.
Well, I wish someone would make a change to these kind of institutions, that how it's been structured 50, 60 years ago isn't the way people live their lives now. And we need to recognize the honest truth about modern well-being, modern living, is to really start to live intentionally, choosing how is going to be the best for us, what is better for us. We know that. But life, others dictate to us in a way that makes us have to compromise who we are. That's what it feels like. And so flipping the script sounds like an amazing process that somebody probably goes through to really start to change their life for the better. But so, without naming anyone, could you share an example of someone who had a breakthrough in flipping the script?
I actually had recently I had a conversation with a gentleman who was keen about, he already knew something about flipping the script. He wanted to know more. So we had an open conversation, and I think for the first time he was actually talking openly without any fear of being judged. And so we did this exercise, and the way I do it, I actually share literally how I used to feel. It's literally a figure that is split in half. So one half is that conditioned self,
Yep.
what we think to be true about ourselves. So for example, my old self, my scripted version is I don't have, I'm invisible, I don't have anything to say, nobody wants to listen, I don't have a voice, I'm invisible, I feel inadequate, I need fixing, inadequate, like an unfinished product. I was always very judgmental. I wasn't a people person. That's what I thought, and therefore I was avoiding people
Right.
because that was the identity that I carried.
Wow.
So when I did this and shared exactly everything that I used to think about myself and what I now, by flipping that script, think and carry as my identity, I shared that with my in a conversation with a coaching client, and he instantly knew. He instantly knew. That's the thing. I think we know when we're kind of pushed to, what's your script saying? What is the I am identity that comes? And then you automatically say, yeah, I'm not pretty. I'm not this. I'm not that. Or I'm just that. I'm only comes out.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well.
And
Yes.
that is a learned sort of identity, but it's not necessarily the true identity. It's just something that we carry with us. So that's a script identity. And flipping that, it takes a little bit, it's probably a little bit uncomfortable because thinking greatly about ourselves is uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
think you need someone to give you permission and need someone to actually see you properly.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I had that help, and now I'm passing that help on to others. So, and again, I had another coaching client. I just put something out on LinkedIn about seeking validation through my job title, seeking validation through, working in an investment bank. And he instantly messaged me, he said, "Oh my God, I think this drive and being driven in the corporate world, the need to accumulate wealth, the need to be seen as successful, the need for validation through outside stuff, whether that's job title or the car or the house or the, whatever investment portfolio." And I'm not saying don't invest any money, but when we use that as a status symbol for us, that's very hollow or shallow. And this gentleman, we had a VIP day.
What is a VIP day?
I do an intro program, which is over 3 months. I call that the Self Leadership Reset, where we're literally flipping the script and going through 3 steps together. And the VIP day is, okay, I'm just doing work. How can I take a step back? And then we dismantle a couple of things and actually implement a few ways of working differently. So that's what we started out on. Because, and again, it's for people who are thinking they need to walk away from their jobs. That's the only solution to take a breather. Some people just, I had enough now and then need to resign or waiting for resignation. That's when I do a VIP day. So we dismantle those things and actually bring the joy back and the presence back into the job without losing yourself in it.
And how do these people find you?
Well, that's the thing. I need to be a little bit more active on LinkedIn and on socials and talk about it.
You're doing great already, I think. I mean, it sounds like that is something that I think a lot of people need, because a lot of people are at that stage. Life right now, the world right now, it just feels so frustrating. People feel lost.
Yeah.
They're not voicing it, but that's there inside them.
There is no how. How do I change it? Instead of changing the outside. And this changing yourself is often very, very scary, and it doesn't need to be. So, sorry, this particular client I worked with, actually, the result of him not being present and following this script resulted in him and his home life being in jeopardy. So it was that he and his wife weren't speaking anymore, and she was on the verge of moving out.
Yeah.
When I explained that they probably had script on script conversations, he said, "Oh my God, yes. Why did nobody tell me that before?"
Yeah. See, when you open yourself up to hearing about what you're not seeing sometimes in your life, and that's just exactly what you're trying to do, is trying to get people to flip the script, but understand what that script was to begin with, you know?
Exactly. And just in a conversation, it usually becomes so clear. Kids, I hear, are the ones that get it really, really quickly. They know exactly that they're bending themselves.
And do you work with kids as well then?
No, I don't. But I not necessarily. I'd rather work with the parents.
Yeah.
because kids learn through observation.
Exactly.
So the first point is actually, it's not the kids that need to change, it's the parents that need to actually start liking themselves so that the kids learn to like themselves.
And not even like love.
Yeah.
Not even like love. Because that's
yeah, it's that self-appreciation I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it sounds like he had a breakthrough. He was able to flip the script, and that's just beautiful to hear. And so if someone, I guess, is listening today, feels like they're stuck or life is happening to them rather than because of them, what's one question, I guess, they could be asking themselves tonight that starts moving them back into the driver's seat?
I think maybe if I give 2 or 3 questions without meaning to overwhelm, but is what I'm thinking making me feel good? And if that awareness then says no, then what is the opposite? What would I choose instead?
Wow. Yeah. And that question sometimes is confusing for people because they've never even thought of it, right?
No, they never thought they had a choice.
Yeah. Gosh.
And so often this choosing, when I ask people choosing, they look at me with big eyes and go, "It never crossed my mind."
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, and again, I had a coaching client. She was single mum, divorced since over 20 years, and she said, "Oh, it just never happened for me again." A new relationship, and I said, what relationship would you like to have? Have you ever thought about what kind of partner you would like to have in your life again? And she looks at me like, I didn't know I had a choice in that.
Really? Is it akin to any kind of manifestation? Is it thinking that in those terms at all?
No, I don't think I think manifestation happens when you already know, okay, this is what I want. But manifestation we use often as in outside stuff. Like we have a vision board of the car, for example, or the watch or the house, and it's like physical things that we try to attract to us. But just having a choice of thinking, how do I want my life to feel like, to look like? What experiences do I want to have? As a single woman, do I want to be in a relationship? And what kind of relationship do I want? What kind of partner would I like to have in my life or spend my life with? And who am I in this relationship?
That's a good one.
Yeah. So there's lots of simple questions, but we have not learned them. Nobody has taught them. They're not a curriculum in school or anywhere else at work.
Yeah. That's the problem. I like it. What I've heard in this conversation is those kind of institutions, education, professional work institutions, they're really not helping people to live healthier, happier lives. In fact, probably doing the opposite, it sounds like.
Yeah, I feel like,
Yeah,
like autonomy and choosing for yourself is something that is not part of the curriculum.
No, choosing for yourself. Yes, that's it. Choosing for yourself. No, it's not happening from probably from childhood. You're not choosing, right? Your parents choosing. Then you move into school, like you said, you're not choosing. Your school, your teacher, your principal, whoever, they're choosing how and what you do and what you say. Even if you go to your work life, your boss, your manager, it's just crazy how
Yeah.
life has changed. You really just I kind of had this. I'm having this mind blown kind of thinking now about this. It's quite interesting,
Yeah.
but I love it. I love what you do with how you're helping people, because it sounds really like you're giving them very crystal clear guidance. So I think I have a final question for you. If people would like to learn more about your work, or even a flip the script session for themselves, where's the best place to find you?
At the moment, you can find, well, my website is full of information and how you can work with me in a few different ways.
What's your website?
Suzanne Cubic. SuzanneCubic.com, and Suzanne is S-U-S, not S-U-Z.
Okay,
Cubic.com. There's lots of information how you can work with me for professionals, for a VIP day, before they decide to walk away from their jobs. Or if they want to go through the full program, which is a 3 months self-leadership reset. That is building a relationship with yourself, discover who you are, and then at the end we do the life design process. It's first we untangle what's happening in here, untangling, discover who we are, and then leading ourselves forward with clarity and direction, so that it feels good.
Yeah.
And then I also run a small group. I actually wanted to do a little bit of a launch for July.
Yes,
I'm just trailing behind at the moment. I have a small group that meets once a month at the end of the last Sunday of each month. It's the self space.
Okay.
And we have a topic each time, and I send out the little questionnaire as a preparation. It's usually the same questionnaire, but we change. You notice how the answers are changing, or the awareness changes, and it's a little bit of a reflection.
Love it.
And we have a topic each month. So this upcoming month, or at the end of this month, is all about fear and relabeling fear.
Okay. By relabeling fear.
Yeah. Why?
What do you mean by relabeling fear? Just out of
dismantling it. We're relabeling it. We're dismantling fear. How does it feel? For example, so that this kind of this where does it sit, this feeling? And then actually, is it rather an exciting feeling? Is it really fear, or is it rather exciting?
I love that. Is it exciting? Because then it does actually relabel it to something very, very different. You have a whole different experience because of that. Wow. Gosh,
so there's a couple of options I take people through this last Sunday of this month.
Okay.
And so every month there's a different topic. We had resilience before, we had the sense of self before, that we literally, and it's all about creating this relationship with ourselves and the self-appreciation, not being our own enemy or sort of this thing that we need to fight against, but actually this acceptance.
I love all of this. I mean, I think it just resonates as something that's going to help people so much if they can really just dig into themselves and just take that time and energy to put into really understanding who they are. Something like this really will flip the script. So Suzanne, thank you.
Very welcome
for joining me today. I think what I've taken away from the conversation is that self-leadership isn't about having all the answers, right? Or becoming someone completely different. I think it's about recognizing that we have more agency than we actually sometimes realize. Because I know I've gone through that, not realizing the agency that I actually did have, and that even the smallest kind of shift in perspective can change the direction we're traveling, which is so beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not about becoming someone else, but acknowledging that beautiful being that we already are.
Yes.
Instead of dismissing ourselves.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I hope everyone's listened to this. And if you, listener, you know someone could benefit from hearing this episode, please do share it with them. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared this podcast. It helps more people discover those conversations and supports the mission of making well-being feel more accessible. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. Until next time, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode of Self-Care in the City. Thanks, Suzanne. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.